quorum?
Yeah, we do, don't we? 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, there's 3 of us in
Okay.
person, yeah.
Okay.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you guys doing?
Good.
Good.
All right, good morning, everyone. Can you hear, see us okay? I almost said smell, but that's not the proper terminology.
We're not at that level of technology yet.
Yeah, we're not there yet. I'm fine with that, I think.
Yeah.
All right, great. So just bear with us as we go through the actual meeting today. I will be keeping an eye on the chat as I'm going through this, but I am playing IT with sharing my screen and doing that. So if someone on Zoom, if Supervisor Sabatier or Supervisor Crandall, if you can point to my attention, if there is a
Yes.
chat and I'm missing it, just let me know, okay?
Okay.
Great. We can go ahead and get started and just for
Recording?
it's yeah, Kelly should be
recording.
recording it.
Okay.
Yep. And then before we get started, I would just like to note that we do have 3 committee members in person here. So when we do the quorum, Supervisor Crandall, just make note of that as well, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Great, okay. We can go ahead and pass over the torch to Supervisor Crandall.
Okay, there we go. So call this meeting to order. It's 10:36. Let's see, consideration of items not appearing on the posted agenda. Is there any? Does anybody have any? Don't see any hands up.
Yeah.
With that,
Not gonna-
okay, good. We're not
You
seeing
can
any.
turn it up within Zoom.
Any board action? What? Yep, we have one on the minutes for April 10th, 2023. Has everyone got a chance to take a look at the minutes?
The meeting minutes are amazing. Is that Kelly's work?
Yes, Kelly's work.
Where's the microphone?
I had to stop the screen.
Okay, now that little thing and then down on audio settings. And then you just move that up.
There you go.
I've been zooming for way before COVID. Really? I've been telecommuting.
Does that sound better to you guys?
Say something, please.
Something, please.
Something-
Okay, that's better.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Okay, yes, that the minutes are Kelly's work and she does a phenomenal job.
Absolutely.
Hooray.
Right. Anyone from the community have any concerns about the minutes? Not seeing any hands up. With that, is there any, we need action, so.
The chair moved to approve the meeting minutes as presented.
I second.
So I have a motion by Supervisor Sabatier and a second by Mary Jo. All in favor?
Bye.
Opposed? Motion carried. And next item is the project area parcel acquisition, and it looks like we have it listed here.
Yeah,
The floor over to you, Marina.
yep, so I can go ahead and I may lean on Jordan Beaton, our program coordinator, who has done a lot of work on looking at DWR agreements, information documents that we have and with our consultants. So thank you, Jordan, for all the work that you've done. I'll go ahead and just read this list out. I know we love reading all the numbers on APN, so I'll read the APN names and then also the related parcel owner as well. So again, the board approved on March 28th, 2023, the Sealy parcel 004010450. We are working with the title company now to move that along and officially close escrow. It is slated to go before the board on June 27th, 2023, 2 parcels, REC 201010050, and then 201010020, which is Chandler. I have an asterisk by this one just because this parcel is something new that we haven't seen in this round of property acquisitions, which includes a legal description for well house easement. So hoping that that goes through our legal, which is it going through legal right now for review, and not anticipating any hiccups with that. We've worked with our consultants very closely and the landowner, but I do have an asterisk on that in case of anything, any changes on that, I will let the committee and the community know. Again, we are in the process of coordinating and following up with non-willing sellers per our 2022 efforts, which include Heron 004016110, Khan 004-010-050 and 004-013-050. Saba 004-02501 and Hanston 004-02125. We are also in the process of following up on willing sellers, include Frias, which is 004-015-020. Christensen, also known as the Bloody Island parcel, partially of it, 004-014-200, and then Wilkerson 004-016-130. Now, we are in the also process sending letters of interest to additional parcels, the parcels that we have here. This is letters or parcels that we not have necessarily received confirmation of interest. So again, they're letters of interest, different than willing sellers, because we've received confirmation in the past from willing sellers. So that's why there's a slight difference here, and they're in a different category. That includes a few with Robinson Rancheria. Again, we are we'll be coordinating with Robinson regarding that. And there's a few parcels here, including 004-021-080, 004-021-150, 004-002-080, and then 004-022-340, and then 201-010-010. Some parcels, and I haven't double checked, so excuse me for not being prepared. I'm not quite sure which ones of these are in the actual trust. And I know we can have separate conversations about that. And then also Fry, not to be confused with Frias, 004-01629. 2 for Lopez, 004-01016 and 004-01309. And then Villegas, 004-01513. Now, we are having active conversations and communications with our friends from California Department of Water Resources, which we have a separate agenda item on, so I can go into details about those conversations. But we have been working very well with them, and we definitely appreciate their correspondence and just getting up to speed and seeing where we're at with specific parcels and the grant in general. So you can see we have a lot of parcels that we're in active communications regarding the status and next steps of. So that's why we have an item here for county to coordinate with the state on. And those include a few with Seychow. As we know, there's some relocations with those parcels. And the Seychow properties include 004-010-180, 004-010-190, 004-010-200, 004-013-060, 004-013-120, 004-010-100, and 004-013-080. We also have a few with Narvaez, including 004-013-020, 003-055-090. Berrigan as well, 004-016-230. That's Smidian, 004-015-120. A few for Coker, including 004-010-51, 004-013-20, and 004-013-11. I have Luna Gaming. One of those may have been Luna Gaming. Can you?
Yeah, I think actually there should be only one for Coker.
Okay,
And that should be 004-013-11.
okay.
Um,
And then the two were the two up there, the 004-010-51 and the 004-013-20.
those are portions of Luna Gaming.
Okay, did everyone on Zoom hear that?
Say that again.
Coker property should be 004-013-11, and then Luna Gaming will be 004-010-51, as well as 004-013-20.
So I'll fix it on the slide, but you can see here in the last two rows,
And-
I made an error in just the parentheses. I put it in the
Luna
wrong
Gaming
slide.
just needs to be moved up
and
Gotcha.
after the.
Lola has stated in the chat that one property is not transferring from fee to trust, and it's 201-010-01.
Okay, thank you, Corolla, for that. We'll make a note of that.
No, I'm sorry, 201, that one's trust. value.
201-0,
Thank
That
you.
last one.
that is
So-
not transferring from fee to trust for Robinson.
I do have a question. It was brought up last time that Robinson Rancheria bought a new piece of property. Is that the new piece of property, or is there an APN that we're missing? I just want to make sure that we recognize all that Robinson owns, both in trust and in fee.
I,
Wondering if Corolla might be able to respond to that.
Within the project area, that's the only one that I have identification of that's in the fee property and won't be going to trust, and that's the 201010-01.
Okay.
Everything
And-
else that's Robinson will be going into trust in the project area. Outside the project area, different story.
Right. And just want double checking. Thank you for the answer, but you mentioned last time that there was a new property that had been purchased. Is that the one, or?
Yeah, this is the one. It was purchased, I think, in 2019 or
Oh, wow.
2020, something like that.
I
Maybe
thought
it was more like
recent.
2020, so.
Thank you.
No, I don't think there's any other one more recent than that.
And I think that because we're meeting pretty consistently now, even though I really hate the timeline, because Dylan wants to meet on Tuesdays, which is really problematic for EJ and I to be able to make those meetings. But the fact is, we're very engaged now, more so than ever, with Dylan over at the Army Corps, but trying to figure out what's going to happen with that one that's in fee is going to be a similar conversation to figuring out. I think it's more difficult than the figuring out the trust. We'll see what happens.
So
It's just conversations, not difficult, but okay.
Well,
So-
difficult in the sense that the way that the Army Corps works is that the federal government needs to own the land. And at this moment, I'm not quite sure with it being fee, where does that fit? So maybe it's not difficult, but I know it's another category of land.
And then real quick, just before we move on, there are two other parcels on here on county to coordinate with the state, 004-01008, which is Morrow. You can see the asterisk and below that. This is not currently outlined in the DWR agreement, so we're just having correspondence with the state to see why that was, or any, next steps if necessary for that. And then also the Clear Lake Duck Club 004-022-12. With them, we did have an appraisal prepared, reviewed, I believe last year or the year before. There was interest from the Duck Club, but then they said they were not willing at that moment due to duck hunting season. So since that appraisal is so old, we'll have to go and redo that and just pick back up correspondence with them. But we want to chat with the state before we move forward with that. So those were the rest of the parcels I have. If there's any other questions or did I miss anything, Jordan?
No, I think you've got it. I just wanted to note for Mary Jo that last one that says Morrow, you have listed in yours as Seychelles.
Okay.
But it is, when I looked it up on our GIS parcel, it is Morrow.
yeah, I've been working from few-year-old spreadsheets.
Oh,
totally.
Constantly
I
updating.
totally
Yeah.
understand. Hopefully I've been able to answer all of your questions. I have your spreadsheet here and
Oh, good.
I hope it is all outlined in there for you.
Any questions or comments from the committee members?
Yeah, I have
just-
a question.
Well, go ahead. Harry,
Um,
go first.
Yeah, thank you. This last category, county to coordinate with state on. This is involved with appraisals and, so what are the owners doing? Those owners, what are they doing? They're waiting, right?
Yes.
They're engaged, they're committed.
Well, it's a lumped into a few different
But
conversations.
there's conversations going on with the state. So
Yes.
So the county's talking to DWR about something about all these. In some cases, it's appraisals, in some other cases, it's what?
Well, Morrow specifically, it's not, when I looked at the EWR map, it's this little white one up there that's not outlined to be bought.
Right.
So we're just gonna double check on that one.
You
I
have
have-
better color We have
No,
two shades of green.
That's our map, this is DWR, so
Okay.
it's different, that's why.
It's like, which color green is which?
No, I know, it's.
Okay. I was just.
So there's different things going on.
Yes.
But it all involves waiting for DWR.
Well, I don't know if waiting is a great
Yeah.
description, it's just conversations that we're trying to nail down, like some of those.
Okay.
Parcels
Yeah.
on there have been sent to them for review, some of them have been approved. And so we're in conversations and updates.
So I'd like to understand what, if DWR seriously had appraisals for over a year and just didn't respond? And if that's the case, I assume we need a new update on the appraisal. And if that's the case, then it's more money out of our pockets because they didn't do their job. And I think it's time to get Cecilia involved.
Well, that's why we're having conversations.
Yes.
And again,
Well,
we've
that should
had,
be part of the conversation. Do we need to talk to Cecilia?
well, and exactly, that's what we're trying to deal with. But as the county, as the grant manager, we're trying to figure that out. And if it comes to that, I mean, that's not completely off the table. We'll bring that to the committee because that will be something that would be more than appropriate and the committee has done in the past, right? And we have Supervisor Crandall and Supervisor Spate who have had those conversations, and you were at the tour in 2019, I think we had,
Yes.
as well with Cecilia, and I know that she's an advocate of that. But we have a new grant manager, and we'll give that update when we get to the DWR correspondence with it.
But have they ever indicated why they didn't do anything in over a year on all those?
Well, no,
appraisals?
there's appraisals that they received and they had approved, but then there was loss in translation. That's what we're trying to figure out, where those discrepancies were. Was it on the county's end? Was it on DWR's end? Was it on Monument's end? That's what we're trying to figure out right now. So before we put the official blame game, we need to figure that out before we come heavy hitter. And then if the ball was dropped on our end, we're not gonna attack DWR on that
Yeah.
end. That's what we're trying to figure out. And they've been great in having these correspondence with us. We're following emails dated back, whatnot, even when previous employees were here too. So that's what we're trying to figure out.
Okay.
Yeah. It's frustrating, but we're also trying to coordinate with those landowners too.
Typically, when people public finds out I'm on the committee, I get attacked.
Yeah, and we get attacked,
Yeah.
everybody gets
Yes.
attacked on the.
Yeah.
We're aware.
Yeah.
But, and, yeah. People in the county aren't happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of people aren't.
It's very clear.
Are there any other questions, comments from committee members in the room, in the Zoom room?
Yeah, so I know that I see something in the chat, but what I'll say before that is within the last month, I feel like there's been a lot more progress than anything, and I do understand people are upset. I don't know why they weren't upset 3 years ago when we didn't even have this committee, so I'm glad that we're where we're at. I get the same heat. I understand how you feel, Mary Jo. I think we just need to keep hitting the ground and doing what we're doing. I think we're getting there. I like the idea that or the statement that Marina made about making sure we weren't the ones that dropped the ball too, because sometimes I get into that when it comes to another committee that I'm on. But either way, I hear you, Mary Jo. It is very frustrating, that at times we're stuck in different situations. Corolla mentioned that any movement on Robinson's request to Lake County about the surveys on tribal lands, and the request has been put out. Is there a formal request needed or something of the like?
Carla, can you elaborate a little bit more about regarding surveys? Is this environmental surveys? Is this parcel boundary surveys?
Parcel boundary surveys, when you guys went out and evaluated where the true 100-year flood line exists. Because that was the original surveys from the 2004 was obviously back in 2004 and land changes. But yeah, so that was the surveys that we allowed Consur to have access to the properties to do surveys along our properties. So yeah, I'd requested this a couple times from Scott, never really got an answer. Haven't really gotten an answer or any response back. Just need to know, do I need to do a formal request? If so, then that's the direction I need to go. An answer, some answer would be nice. Yes, no. Take a walk, something.
Yeah, Carla, let me
anything.
go ahead. Nope, if you have already sent that request, I should be able to find it and at least get it from Director De Leon. If not, I will circle back with you by tomorrow regarding that status, and then same with the committee, but I want to reach out to you before I provide an update to everyone as a group.
Yeah, I've asked it in a couple of meetings. I've put it in a couple of written forums in the chats. I haven't put together an email to Scott. I'm happy to do that. I may have one email out there to him, but yeah, just, I hate to waste my time on things that, are just gonna get left behind. So if I need a formal request, I'll go that direction, and that's what I'll do. But once again, I don't want to waste my time on something that I'm just not gonna get an answer on.
Understandable.
Oh, you need to get an answer.
All right, well, again, just Marina said she'll look into it and hopefully we get some resolve on that. But either way, I know that one thing I'll say is the county has a lot of tasks in regards to water resources and other things. So I know for me, I tell my constituents, keep texting, keep emailing, because sometimes, for example, when we had the meetings with Department of Water Resources last week and Middle Creek with Army Corps, I had to push some other things to the side, even though they're just as important. So, I mean, it's not like, I know from my perspective, we're not trying to neglect anybody, but at times things pop up and take precedence. And I don't know if that's the case with water resources, but I would assume it's very difficult to manage all the tasks. So it helps me, and I think others, if just reminders, and if you need to CC me in it, and I'll help with that. So let's see, are we finished with that? Is there any other comments on item 4?
I just have a follow-up to that real quick. Are you looking, Corolla, for just the new map of the 100-year flood zone, or are you looking for something different?
No, pretty much that, the new 100-year flood zone, so that, we know where the actual project area kind of starts in the sense, and that's where restoration begins.
Okay, and then Marina, quick question. I know we were working on that. Has it been fully finalized?
It should be fully finalized, and that's what I'm gonna confirm with Director De Leon on getting that updated map, because if I remember Counselor out there staking that area, Corolla, and I remember you working on access to that. So I will double check, and I'm hoping that it was already surveyed, and then we just need to get that updated map.
Yeah, I remember all their equipment got stolen too out here, or over in this area.
Yeah, what was that? Sorry, Jordan.
At our meeting with Army Corps, I thought that they wanted to review that and accept that.
Yeah.
Possibly double check that, so
Yeah.
we could send that, but it may be different.
Subject
That's what I
to
thought I remembered.
adjustment.
So what was that?
Subject to adjustment.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Because ultimately Army Corps, and the question for those folks that were in the Zoom room that were able to hear it. So when we've had the recent correspondence with Army Corps of Engineers, they were interested in seeing that map as well. So that will be sent to Army Corps, and then they'll get the final say since it is their project. So yes, subject to adjustment per Mary Jo's comment. But yes, Corolla, I will follow up with, circle back with you by tomorrow afternoon regarding that.
Okay. Any other comments on item 4, or are we? Okay. Move on.
And-
Well, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say, so the next is the map, but I don't want to linger too much on here. This is just the map that we have. There are some changes. There's actually a lot of changes that we're making now. There were some comments before, just stating the colors. I know that we want to be as equitable and accessible friendly as possible, and ensure that we are making this map visually appealing and appropriate for folks that may have issues with seeing colors. I know the blues can be confusing, and the greens and all the other beautiful colors that we have going on. So Jordan has been working hard on making that updated map. So I don't want to linger too much on this
Yeah.
slide. I just want to make that comment known.
I would like to just note that the Sealy property, the upper left property should be gray. Or
Yes.
will be gray. That's the most recent update, and it's not reflected on this map.
So just a comment on this. I don't want to linger too much, but just wanted to make that known.
So I do have a quick question. I'm kind of jumping back to the other item and looking at the map. You said that you're going to reach out to those that were non-willing sellers. We have 2 months until the next meeting. If they are, I'm guessing the conversation is, have you changed your mind? And if they have not, are we prepared to start moving into what to me is the obvious eminent domain situation?
So Supervisor Sabate, that's a really great point, and it was actually gonna be my recommendation that we start having some sort of standing item or at least discussion on that, because I
Yes.
know that Army Corps has asked questions about that as well. DWR a little bit, but not more so, because our focus right with them right now is just using our current funds for the willing sellers. But I do recommend that the committee start having a standing item on non-willing sellers. I don't want to title it as eminent domain, because we need to have those discussions on what is the route we take. But now is the appropriate time, because 2028 is going to be here before we know it. And if there's avenues that we can start taking before that grant is done, ideally we do. And it comes to non-willing sellers, I don't want to expend all the resources in trying to get these folks to say, yes, I'm willing, when they've told us, 3-4 times now that they're non-willing. So that's going to be my recommendation, that the committee has a standing item, and starting next meeting, which is our August meeting, we start talking about what route the county, what we should take when it comes to non-willing. But there's a comment from Mary Jo.
A question,
Yes.
Harry, you emailed the Buddhist, did you hear anything back?
Not a thing, but my email made it through. It was a sound address.
Good.
And so John Chu must have gotten it.
And I believe Supervisor Crandall, did you?
Yeah,
did you get that too?
Harry sent it to me, and I'm following up with his contact as well to see if I can do my best and talk to them as well. I'd like to figure out their number and whatnot and see if I can get them face to face, but that's the goal.
And then just to follow up on that first question, I know we did get a right-of-way agent. Do we still have that right-of-way agent? Has that changed? I just wanted to kind of check in real quick.
So we still do not have an extra help right-of-way agent, nor do we have a full-time right-of-way. De Leon is gonna have interview this week, I believe, for our full-time right-of-way agent. We've been unsuccessful. I'm still soliciting for an extra help right-of-way agent specific to Middle Creek. So if you know of anyone, someone preferably who has familiarity with parcel acquisition and right-of-way experience. Some of our candidates had not really had that experience, so
I
it
don't
makes
even
it.
know what it means, frankly.
Well, and that's
Way is when you're
that's-
driving.
where we're at, Mary Jo. That's why we need an expert.
And we did explore possibly talking to Monument, but.
Yes. Again, that's up in the air as well. So we're trying to explore every avenue possible.
Let's
If you-
find out who's to blame for the appraisal
Yes,
issue.
exactly.
First.
Exactly. So, yes, on that note, we're still right-of-way agentless, which is making it very difficult. And Director De Leon has been amazing. Same with Jordan. And our consultants have been helping us in terms of getting escrow instructions, reaching out to the state. DWR has been great at, trying to walk us through these processes as well. So all of us together, we're working through it, but Sealy is the first one that we've had that we don't have a right-of-way agent. So we're all learning a lot of new things, but really need to get a right-of-way agent on board. So
So since we're on this personnel thing, you also had put in the budget for the next fiscal year, somebody full-time supported on this funding.
we have the extra help right-of-way agent position, and I worked with
Oh, so
Jordan.
they're both the same. They're the
Yes,
same.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Program
So,
coordinator.
yeah, we have funds in the grant for program coordinator, but that goes for Jordan's time. Jordan and I have had a lot of talks, and we moved some of her programs and projects around, so she's taking a stronger lead. We've taken some things off her plate to have more of a focus on Middle Creek. So she has been awesome, and we appreciate all the work that she's done. I definitely noticed a difference in the work that we've been doing. So again, reallocating and shuffling some things around. As Supervisor Crandall said, there's a lot of important things going on, but this is a priority and we need to get this done. So my objective, it is, yes, definitely. And with my goal is, once we have that right-of-way agent position, extra help that is completely allocated to this with the consultants and then with Jordan, things will be moving a lot
Okay,
faster.
good.
Yeah.
Good.
So I apologize that I was under the impression that either we were onboarding a right-of-way agent or we were close, and either I'm completely wrong or it just didn't work out.
It
But
didn't work out.
nonetheless, I think it's important for those that we approach who are non-willing sellers to understand what eminent domain would do. Eminent domain is not negotiations. It's basically it's kind of like a hostile takeover. And so if we can get a way to have because a year's worth or 2 years worth of eminent domain is more expensive on our side, but they still get the crappy amount that they're saying no to now. And so I hope that we can provide good information to let them understand what the process is and what the most likely outcome will be. Because I'm not going to say much because we're being recorded right now, but I would prefer sitting down and negotiate at a table than to go negotiate through court where there is no negotiation.
And that's a very good point to bring up, Supervisor. And that's where my point is. We're not hitting hard right now in eminent domain just because we haven't had those conversations. So I don't feel like I can be that one saying, hey, if we don't buy this property now, eminent domain is going to take place. I feel
And
that,
I think you're absolutely right. We
Yeah.
need to start soon,
Mhm.
because my understanding from people who understand the Buddhists much better than I do, they would be delighted if they were forced to sell it to us. But for religious reasons, they cannot be
Yep.
willing sellers, because people will be catching fish and
Mm.
shooting ducks
Yeah.
on the property. So they would be happy.
Yeah.
That it's not gonna, if you tell them that, they'll say, great,
Right.
start the process.
right,
Or they will think that, but they
Mhm.
might not say it.
exactly.
So yes, we need to get going on that, because that's the only way. And you look at this project, isn't happening without that piece of property. That's where it needs to go into the lake.
And that's where, honestly, when we had those meetings with Army Corps, which we'll talk about in the next slide, that they saw that property and they're like, oh, they're not willing sellers. What are we gonna do? We need that property. So I agree. And I think, a formal letter that we can send if they're like, no, I'm not willing. After we have those conversations, we did agree that's the route we're gonna take. If they aren't willing, then we can send that formal letter. And then maybe, especially since we have until 2028, we can convince them to be willing and we can utilize the
It's not
funds.
gonna happen.
Well, and that's the thing, not with them, but hopefully with other
Right,
parcels.
yeah, maybe with the other part, but
Yeah.
it's guaranteed, I mean, it's their religious belief.
Yeah.
It's not changing.
Yeah.
Because we say it's gonna take 2 years more for the same price. It's not gonna change.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. What I see too is, if any of us, can get discussions with, like, let's say that I can somehow get a discussion with, any property owner that we're looking at. In that discussion, is it safe to say that we can go through that? Like, so mention, look, we're looking at trying to work with you with our right-of-way agent and, whatever else the case may be. If this doesn't get somewhere, we're looking, into the process of eminent domain, and this is what that looks like. Then front loading that so they can consider it more rather than, kind of halting on it. Because what I anticipate happening as well, and what I anticipate that is happening right now, is people are trying to sell it to get the most they can out of it, and then it becomes someone else's problem after they get there. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so giving them that insight, it's kind of like during the fires when you're telling people, look, I need your next of kin if you're going to shelter in place. Now they're thinking about it like, okay, I'm going to leave then, but if you don't put that big deal in front, then you're just kind of going to keep doing what they do. So I don't know what process we need to make that choice. If anyone wants to enlighten me, that way I can, if I get a chance to talk to someone from here forward, I can say, hey, look, this is where it goes from there. Is it anything we need to vote on, or can we just say it?
I think it's always been the process in the long run for anybody that doesn't want to sell, or else the project can't happen or is completely altered in a way that it would not happen in the way that we want it to. But I think it's always been there. It's just that the grant that is the basis for these meetings and for our progress do not involve that activity. And so we've just been kind of pushing it to the side to make sure we spend that money first rather than using any and all of our energy into something else that the grant funds cannot be utilized for. But I think if we have good enough paperwork that's kind of written out, that can be a handout sheet. I think that would be helpful for you, EJ.
Yeah.
And helpful for me as well, or anybody that's having these conversations. And the idea being in convincing people to say yes to some sort of price rather than just saying no, because at least we can still utilize what the state funded us with rather than none of it being used when we go to court.
Right. I agree with that. Thank you for that. I just don't want to, you know, if I get a chance to meet with somebody, I don't want to tell them, yep, we're going to go this route. And then I'm the dad that says I'm going to spank you and I never do. You know what I mean? That makes sense. You're grounded, but never ground them, you know, or whatever. So, bad analogy, I guess, but just wanted to throw that out there so I know. Is there any discussion on
Mary
this?
Jo has her hand raised.
Yeah.
Since we're talking down in that neck of the woods, has anybody asked why the piece of land on the other side of the East Lucerne cutoff from the Buddhist land is not part of the project, because that's the outlet into the lake?
So,
I coordinate with state. I've got to talk to them. I have it on,
Excellent.
I have it on here.
Excellent.
Yes, I
Is it
have
just
that. There are
one
two
parcel?
parcels.
Two
No,
parcels, that's what I was thinking.
two total. So that would be the Dharma. That's what it's listed under, and it's
I just have the parcel number from the parcel.
Okay. yeah, that's a Dharma.
04.
004-026-080.
I don't have that one. Okay, I'm gonna write that down. So 004-026.
08. And then it's right on the other side of the street.
I feel like we're talking about the same one. I have a different parcel number, but.
So this is the county parcel viewer that I'm on. So there's that one.
So for folks in the Zoom, the question was asked, has there been any correspondence? There's two parcels that Mary Jo listed out on the other side of the street that connect to the lake that are not in the current, on the current map. So Mary Jo asked the question if there has been any correspondence as to why those are not listed on the current map.
I've got both of those written down.
Okay.
Investigating.
So
And we just discussed that we will be bringing that to the state to have correspondence on coordination and next steps on those. So that's similar to the Morrow one, if you recall my last slide of not currently on the agreement, but is it possible to have those correspondence as to why it's not listed in the DWR agreement for parcels to acquire?
Okay.
That was the play-by-play for the Zoom folks.
and it is a public available parcel viewer, so
Yes.
anyone can look.
Yes.
Yep.
Great. Okay, anything else?
Yeah.
Yes, Dr. Lang.
Who do we go to for the handout sheet on eminent domain? What expert can we hit up for a one-page scary description of what will happen?
Dr. Lyons likes the idea. I think that I'd like to invite EJ and myself to sit down with Director De Leon and Deputy Director Julianis. I just butchered your last name. I'm sorry.
That's fine. They've gotten worse.
And I think we need to figure that out, as well as look at some other ideas, which I'm sure they may have already looked at, but to provide as much support as possible as finding a right-of-way agent. But we should be able to work with other counties who already have some of these things probably already written out and available. Should be able to get something, but it's going to take a little bit of time. Hopefully within the next 30 to 45 days, we can look at finding something that we can get a one letter, one sheet to everybody so that we can push that around.
So I'm,
The synonym for eminent domain is condemned, and that's a good word too.
so I'm gonna write an action item then, before the next meeting. So this month we'll set up, a meeting with those that were listed, Supervisor Spatier, and then I think it'd be appropriate also to reach out to our county council to see if maybe they have anything. So I can set that up, and then by next meeting, hopefully have a write-up, if not at least a good overview of where we're at in terms of that discussion. would it be, do we need to take a vote on having an added agenda item for non-willing sellers
Let's see. Think,
moving forward on the agenda, or can I just include that on the next agenda?
I think we can include it. I think that's what I'm looking at it right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
'Cause
we'll
it's
add
on-
also an
we're
agenda
on-
item.
Yeah,
next
we're on acquisition still, so I think we're good on that.
Okay,
That's just me. I don't know if anyone else thinks differently.
No, I'm good with it, but I do want to check in. Dr. Lyons, was that an adequate answer for you?
Yes, very good.
okay. Great. Anything else? I'm like a broken record now. I feel like
Going once,
going twice, great, moving on. And I'm not seeing any chats in the
No,
chat
we're good on that.
box.
So next is the Bloody Island Bado Napati discussion and update from the ad hoc committee. Next steps.
We haven't had any additional conversations when it comes to the ad hoc committee. But I think it'd be appropriate before next meeting to have an additional, a meeting regarding this parcel, and then next steps with that, definitely coordination with the tribe as well.
I do have somewhat of a lead, but I would rather confirm it first before just throwing it out there in a meeting. So what I'll do is follow up today with the lead, and then reach out to you, Marina, and we'll go from there to set that ad hoc meeting once I find out if it's true, and if not, what approach to take from there.
Great. Thank you.
Are there any other topics of discussion on Bado Napati?
Oh, not mean to do that.
All right,
Nope.
doesn't look like we have anything else. So California Department of Water Resources.
Yeah, and I'm looking at our humans we have, and I don't see them. So again, we've had a lot of correspondence with DWR on a weekly, almost daily basis, whether that be meetings or email correspondence. Just getting up to speed, making sure everyone is on the same page when it comes to the grant agreement, parcel acquisition, project as a whole. I even was able to meet with a new contact from DWR regarding this project a few weeks ago. Daniela was also at that meeting too, as it related to the hitch, but we did talk about the Middle Creek project. So again, as Supervisor Crandall said, I do agree that there is a lot more momentum from our friends at the federal and state level with this project, which is really exciting. And it's been nice to actually see progress and things moving forward a lot faster than they have been. So again, we have new monthly meetings internally that we are meeting with DWR regarding the grant, and then again, just the parcel acquisition, and then in the meantime, setting up additional meetings when necessary. We have another one this week with them at the end of the week, due to the fact that we have a new DWR grant manager for this project. So more turnover, that's fine. We're just gonna keep rocking and rolling. I believe I have met this grant manager. I haven't seen them via Zoom yet, but Jordan has met them, and then I want to say they were actually in the field visit a few weeks ago in person. So we no longer will have Nancy Snodgrass. We'll have Nathan Millinger, who actually we've sent him a few quarterly reports that we were backdated on, and he got those reviewed very quickly. The quickest I've ever seen DW review anything. So that's exciting. That's really exciting. And he did share that he's never managed a grant before, but he is really eager and excited to learn. And he seems to be very proactive. So hence the reason we have a meeting with them at the end of this
What's
week.
his last name?
Millinger. Yeah, Millinger. So again, he seems great, excited to start working with him, and they are invited to these meetings. I'll just send him a reminder next time, a personal reminder that we would love to have him on these meetings moving forward. I know he's expressed interest, so hopefully we'll be able to see our DWR friends on the call. So any updates, questions, comments about that?
No, I enjoyed at least the portion that I was there for on, I think it was last Monday.
Mhm.
Was it last Monday, or am I just?
I don't know. My time is the same.
Yeah, so, but I think the more we have those, the better that they can we can be in their minds, you know,
Yeah.
the back of their minds to just constantly remind. I actually made a connect there about something in Lucerne, but also still emphasized in my email about the Middle Creek Restoration Project. So I try to keep those. And even if there is somebody that's not even associated, like EPA, I still say, hey, this project, it can help. So, you know, just I think it's important to have these different tours and whatnot. Really helps us out. So glad to see that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they did express interest in possibly coming out here to seeing the project boots on the ground, which our grant manager, since I've been here since 2019, has not been here actually. So the fact that Nathan really wants to come out here and see it and get more detailed.
I think there's a change in perspective
Yes.
there, because we, the land trusts we're working to acquire a piece of property. And basically we had to have a site visit,
Yeah,
which has never happened with the DWR before.
which is really exciting because it's important for them to get to our community, and especially if they're working on the grant, it changes your perspective when you actually see it boots on the ground.
Yeah.
So when that meeting, if that meeting does take place, I will definitely reach out to the committee if we need to have a special meeting or just next steps on that. But making progress, and it's exciting progress, definitely been very helpful. So trying to move forward in the right direction and not linger on the past.
Right, and I think another thing that helped was I know it was about the chai last December, but that brought some of the folks out here as well and got a lot of attention. So the tribes had that government to government meeting. Then it followed up with another meeting, I want to say a couple months back, when Martha Guzman came out. That really helped out because it inspired that meeting we had in April. And so since the April meeting, when we had that collaborative in Sacramento, it seemed to speed up a little. And so it's important that we all don't lose momentum, but it's important to notice that or acknowledge that the tribes played a good role in helping with that too. So
Definitely.
So I have a question related to that. There was some discussion at the last meeting of adding someone from the tribe to the committee, or if they wanted to, and there was going to be some follow-up, but what happened?
This is the time to have those conversations. What happened?
Yeah, what happened?
let's see where we at here. I know that part of the discussion, I think I'll go back to what I remember, and I apologize, Corolla, maybe you can help too. I know that Tomaggio was a really big advocate towards but having one of the local tribes, especially Robinson or Habe-Matalil, and maybe even Scotts Valley, to have a seat at this ad hoc. And so I don't know, Corolla, if that's what Robinson desires to still have, or Daniela, if you can help elaborate on that for Habe-Matalil. So I don't know. It's something that I know that in discussing with Timaj, we had talked after, and he says, I'm not really interested in that anymore because I didn't realize the Brown Act type of stuff, but that was his statement. I know he's gone now. And so we have different folks. So, and Corolla says that she will bring it to council since there's been movement.
Okay.
Yeah, initially there was some concerns of conflict of interest where we sit as a federal, sit at a different level with Army Corps of Engineer because of our trust property. It, could become a conflict of interest with the work that you guys are doing as a county.
So it's not going to happen?
Well, I would say not necessarily, but Corolla is going to bring it to
Mhm.
council again, see if there's movement.
Correct.
So
Right.
we'll get an
Yeah,
update next. Sorry.
Exactly. Since there's been more movement on the project and actual meetings have happened with Army Corps of Engineers there. Yeah, I will bring it forward to council and see what their what their decision is.
Okay,
Great.
thank you, Corolla. And let me know if there's anything that you need from me, or feel free to send me that update and I can include it for the next agenda item.
Sure, no problem. Yeah. And this is only for Robinson, of course. Daniela and others have to speak for the tribe they are affiliated with and working for.
Okay. Yeah, and then Daniela had mentioned in the chat, Scotts Valley does not have, same for HPUL. But Scotts doesn't have land in the proper or project area, so they could be an alternative. So that's it's insightful as well. So yeah, in obviously Habay Matalel does have trust and fee land in the project boundary. So so yeah, I think if you both can bring it to your councils, see what happens from there. If one council doesn't want to really necessarily get in the middle of it and another one is fine with that, then maybe that can be the route, either or. And so yeah, we could figure it out. And like Daniela had mentioned, let's say both councils from the folks that have the tribes that have fee land or trust land in the middle, maybe Scotts takes the seat because they don't have land there, but they do have ancestral ties. I don't know. I'm just throwing out options and trying to get forward on things. So
Perfect.
Thanks.
Thank you. All right. Let's go ahead and,
let's see, we got project area property maintenance, item 7.
yeah, so last meeting, I had all these fun images from our cameras and everything. And they're working because I don't have any images from our camera. So we have been having to move them around a little bit and get creative on where we place them. But it seems like the efforts that we've done so far, we have not had any major cleanups in that area yet, and we are hoping to keep it that way. So staff is still hard at work, actively going out there. Of course, there's always going to be minor dump sites, but we haven't seen anything massive as we have in the past. But
$80,000 truck. bringing in
no
chairs.
$80,000 truck, thankfully, bringing in chairs. So it's nice that we have those cameras out there. They are helpful, but of course, there's few places on where we can actually place those cameras where we can access them, and then same that are not super obvious because people do get creative, and I guess they have a lot of time on their hands and they find ways to damage those cameras. So luckily no, or steal them.
Two have been stolen.
Oh.
So no,
We have to secure.
yeah,
I bought metal boxes.
yeah.
Okay.
So hopefully things have been working, knock on wood. We keep it that way. So no major dump sites and cleanups that have taken place for project area. Just the routine maintenance that we're doing. So any questions or comments from the board? You don't have to advertise that too, because if you're like telling people, hey, there's no major cleanups and dump sites at Middle Creek, we don't want to advertise as there's a lot of open space to dump your garbage and whatnot.
Mhm.
Don't believe me. Everywhere I think I get one cleaned and then another 4 pop up. It's like,
What about taking care of the properties that are already purchased and have houses or other things on them?
So right now we have the Torrance Vigil that we'll need to do an entire maintenance demo recon plan with the state. So again, another correspondence and conversation that we'll have with the state. We haven't officially done any demos. We'll have to go out to bid and contract for that. So whether we decide to do just a on-call basis, we still need to figure that out and what falls under the purchasing code for the county, because we have to follow that, of course. But we do have funds for that. So that is something that we are having correspondence with, because we don't want those to build up and then we're left with a whole bunch of properties that have a lot of buildings. The good thing is a lot of the properties that are still left to buy, it's not like there's a lot of buildings. Now, when we get to, the state house that has more property on it. But I would feel like Torrance Vigil is the property right now that has a lot of structures. And then even with that, we also have to make sure that we close out the wells and do any assessments to make sure that everything is completely revoked, anything underground as well. And then, of course, working with the tribes in terms of tribal monitoring if we are gonna have to do any digging and whatnot.
Right.
So that's still a large part of it, and I'll work with Jordan on working through that because it's something that we haven't done yet this grant cycle.
Okay.
Yep. Any questions on that? Seeing none?
see no hands up, so I think we're good on that one.
Great.
Army Corps of Engineers, item 8.
Yeah, so I was trying to upload pictures and they weren't working. I had a few pictures, and I'll let Supervisor Crandall go into a little bit more detail on this, but we did have a very productive meeting and some great follow-up that's actually taking place right now and in the works right now with Army Corps of Engineers. We will have a new grant manager with Army Corps of Engineers, but I'm gonna go ahead and let Supervisor Crandall and then Dr. Lyons also feel free to chime in. But Supervisor Crandall, do you mind touching base regarding the May 24th meeting that we had?
Not at all. It was very productive. I know that they got in around 10 a.m. or 9:45, 10 a.m. and we did a really good briefing beforehand and talked about the history, showed maps, things like that. They had a lot of good questions. They had the tribal liaison there. They had a realtor department representative, and I'm not sure of all of the others. I don't have it in my notes in front of me right now, but I do know that they had a really big team. So as opposed to the meeting we had back in 2019, Harry and Bruno, like that one we had, this was a lot more in depth, a lot of good questions. And we ended up having the opportunity to go out to more spots than I expected. So we hit the same dip in the highway road. We hit, we went to, Badanapaty for a moment. We went out towards the rice fields and showed the areas, and then even went out towards the Bridge Arbor area. And so they could see the confluence, and lots of discussion, lots of even just, I think the human element of meeting with people helps, because once people make connections with people, they now can remember, like, wow, now I know what to go forward from. And so it really helped as well to have the tribal representatives there as well, because there was a lot of questions from the group to ask those. And so it was thank you, Daniela. It was the Army Corps staff, hydrologists, biologists, and environmental scientists. That's right, because she kept correcting me on the birds and things like that. So it really was good. I mean, everybody was there to be able to. So like if, a dummy like me was like, oh, you can just do X, Y, and Z. You had someone from the fish biology say, no, that's not true. So you heard wrong. But it's really good to have that. And so that everyone can be on the same page. So later, what happens commonly, I noticed too, is we all bring information back. We have it skewed. And then we still have to verify. Now everyone was there to verify. So then the after action review was really helpful as well, because everybody knew of next steps. There was a lot of, okay, this is what we can do from here. We were trying to be done, I think it was at 3, but we still kind of kept going. You could tell everybody was enthralled with what we did. Very productive, in my opinion. And I think if we can keep the ball rolling, we can get closer to where we need to be, so that's my take on it. I don't know.
And we did have, and I apologize if I missed this, but we did have folks from HPUL and Robinson present as well. So that was a nice addition to have everyone at the table. And then just regarding those next steps, they being Army Corps of Engineer, has been very proactive with actually sending some information that we requested of them, communications regarding the next steps. So again, nice to see, thank you. Nice to see that, monthly meetings are taking place. And as Supervisor Spotty said, we do have those standing on Tuesdays, which are not the best for our 2 supervisors, but it's nice to get Army Corps at the table. And then we do have a new contact with the Army Corps of Engineers real estate lead, who will be working specifically for the project. So our new project manager for our Middle Creek project, Jenny Cure, Cure. She's been great, and
She's employed by whom?
Army Corps.
Okay.
So Dylan Van Dyne was our previous project manager. I don't know where he's going. I don't know when his official transition is, but it seems like Jenny has been taking a lot of that follow-up and next steps, and has been actively communicating, at least with us at the county, on what they need and where we're at. So again,
So which properties belong to the Upper Lake tribe?
Of Bemitol?
Yeah, up
I
in the
can't
top.
say that word.
Have Bemitol. It is 004-01040.
Wait a minute, 004-01040.
It is not on our county map, and I may need to update that. That's one that I will add to it's on my list, but I forgot to tell you about that, Marina. to talk with the state on why that maybe isn't
Um,
on the map.
okay,
I think in their flood line, it was not included, but in our potential updated
Oh,
survey,
okay.
it is. So there's gonna be some parcels that may or may not go missing, depending on the acceptance of the
Right.
100-year floodline survey.
But once that map, the final map is accepted from Army Corps and DWR, we will get that updated, because I envision we'll need to get an updated just grant agreement with DWR anyhow, if those
Sure.
parcels are different in the current agreement that was signed. So that'll, of course, all be public information, and we'll do the, and the Luna Gaming parcel as well. So those will all be included.
So in the county parcel viewer, when I click the layer for floodplain, is that the 100-year floodplain?
That's the old one.
That's that's
That's
the
the old
issue,
one.
because
So-
that's what
So
DWR.
that will, the online one will change when it officially changes, or in the 10 years.
We're not in charge of that.
Yeah. We,
So 10 years
It
later.
could be 10 years later. If it's accepted by everyone on the project, then everyone on the committee will be aware of that new.
at least for the specific project, but yeah, that's the issue with the FEMA map, is it's not. Very important. That's, I don't work for FEMA. But real quick, going back to the Army Corps, so, as Supervisor Crandall said, that the, focus point of that what month are we in? May 24th visit, we said March, was for the validation study. So,
Yes.
they put us in contact with Jennifer Graham, who is a real estate agent lead working on the project. And then along with the tribal liaison, Michelle Larton, for the project. And then what their next steps are is to gather the field information for the validation study. This was their first official visit. It seems like they're gonna have additional, visits to us in the near future, in the next few months. And now they're working on the right of entry aspects for the parcel, so they'll be working closely with us to get those contact information. And then Army Corps of Engineer has their own specific forms that they use for that right of entry documentation. They will be valid for 1 year, and from them, and correct me if I'm wrong, Supervisor Crandall, but it said, they mentioned that was it by the end of the calendar year, that validation study may be completed?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so that's the major part. The validation study is slated to be completed by the end of the calendar year.
Yeah.
And then depending on what that validation study says, the work, of course, will not be completed by the end of the calendar year, but it will outline the next steps and a timeline of when that work needs to be completed. So again, exciting steps forward. Definitely want to give appreciation for Dr. Lyons for all your work and communications with Dylan and Army Corps. That has been very much appreciated. So that's what I have to say.
So does part of this validation,
Study.
the final, that's gonna be the final decision?
Yes,
I'm thinking specifically of the item down here on, the Clover Creek stuff.
Oh,
yeah,
we have an update on that.
yeah, we have an update on that, which we'll get to.
Yes,
later
I know,
on, yeah.
that's what, when we're talking validation, I wanted to know.
We did bring that up, and it's, Jordan will give that update here soon. We
Okay.
did bring that up, but yeah, and that was the great reason why we had this meeting, is because they're like, what else are we missing? Is there anything that we
Yeah.
need to bring up? Like, for example, Director De Leon brought up the bridge and then the highways, we had those additional spots, because there's things
And
that,
PG&E.
and PG&E, which they are still standing firm that public utilities own infrastructure that crosses a project site, as we, the county, will be the lead for the utilities portion of the project and communications. And we've talked historically on what those anticipated costs are, et cetera.
They give us a good talking point
Yes,
on that.
so they are, even though they are still standing firm that we are the lead on that, again, they have been beneficial and helping us pay, because they want to see this project through to completion. It's their project, you know, in the end. So they have been helpful, and I'm hopeful that we will continue to move together in the right direction, and definitely want to appreciate the tribes for taking the time to meet us out there. Luis and Danielle, you guys were helpful during those conversations. So good times.
So calendar year means December, end of December.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. So.
And
there's
that's just to tell us whether
the-
the study is still valid, or if it's not going to be, and then they'll have to do a whole new one,
Okay.
Which I have a
So-
feeling it's gonna be the latter. So,
which means more time.
yes. But we should get that determination, so. Any other updates? We'll have an update tomorrow. We have a meeting with them tomorrow, I believe, with Army Corps. Just our monthly meeting, so again, even though we don't meet next month, I will still send that monthly update. If anything happens with that, we will still send that out. Anything else? I don't know if you guys can see me.
No, but I'm glad that the engagement has intensified.
Yes, lots of engagement, which is exciting.
I think it's great.
All right. PG&E, item 9.
We're
Yes.
waiting on the Army Corps.
We're waiting on the Army Corps. Just another note that I would like to share. So I know our last correspondence with PG&E, they said that we at the county have to pay the money to do the redesigning of the relocation of their infrastructure they had in the project area, and then we have to pay for that. I've been getting letters for idle infrastructure. If infrastructure or power lines are idle in the project area, I believe it's 2 years. They've been going and just taking those out,
They're
decommissioning them.
that's the word.
I
I was like, oh, no.
Picking up what you're putting down.
Yes.
So they are actually out in the project area. I have not seen them, but we have been getting letters and we've been in correspondence with them. So, they'll send us picture, this infrastructure is in, on your property, or near your property, and it's been idle for 2 years. Can we go ahead and decommission this? So of course, we've been giving them a thumbs up for that, because if it's not being used, we don't want to increase the fire risk and danger out there, and it just helps us move this project along. So,
So these are like the Torrance Vigil project.
yeah.
Property.
Yeah, we haven't gotten that one officially yet, but yeah.
Yeah.
So only the infrastructure they have that has been idle and has not been used for 2 years is their timeline. They've actually been out there and they've been sending us those correspondence. We've been in communications with them, but nothing specific to the power lines that we need to relocate.
So the ones that they're looking at is the distribution. Obviously, the transmission lines are not being, those are still very valuable to them.
Yeah, correct. That is correct.
All right. Any other comments on PG&E? All right, next, legislative, updates on next steps with legislative, so.
I have a lot of quarterly reports to send to the supervisors to send over to legislative if that is of interest. So I can send you that pile. I believe they're all signed now, so I will send that to you by the end of day today.
Yep.
Jordan, to remind me. My brain behind, what is this, the wizard? What is it, the Wizard of Oz?
Oh, yes.
It's like- Yeah. Yeah,
Yes.
she's the woman behind the curtain.
Any other comments? Not seeing any. All right, item.
So are these quarterly reports publicly available?
Yeah, so I would like to put those actually on the website, just because it
Okay.
is public information along with the DWR agreement. I'm waiting until we get that. I believe we received the official extension letter, so we'll loop that in with the current agreement, but then again, if we have to update the map or amend anything because of that, then we will do that, but I do want to loop those on there just so the public can see. I mean, it's all public funding, it is public information, so I want to make sure that that's readily accessible, so folks can go and refer to them
Okay.
on their own. They're a fun time. Sorry, I didn't know if my sarcasm was. Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. That's all I have
Okay,
on that. Oh, perfect. Project funding.
there you go.
We still have our DWR funding.
Yay.
Yay. Working through that and trying to use every single penny that we have with that. So that's the update I have. And then, of course, the validation study, things are moving with that in terms of the funds that were allocated for that. Army Corps of Engineer relocation, or sorry, not the relocation, validation study.
So I had a question, I wanted to say that, I really got a kick out of Supervisor Sabatier's, phrase that he was engaged to Dylan. And, I'm in the enviable position of no longer being engaged to Dylan. And I urged Dylan to connect with the government. And so I was left out of the loop. I was surprised by the May 24th meeting, and kind of delighted to be surprised too, because I think it was important for I was impressed with the tribal representatives when their emphasis on one branch of the government talking to the other branch of the government. So I see that there's connections with those who are elected and those who are employed. And as a volunteer, I was happy to step aside. But I remember in some of the emails that Eddie sent me, there was mention of some kind of collaboration or validation of our $800,000. And has that progressed well in terms of project funding? Is the Army Corps satisfied that is happening?
I don't know if they're satisfied in the sense that we've proven that to them. But that would be easily done. I have not heard. And EJ's been more involved in the last meetings. I had to be out of town for the 24th. But I haven't heard, were they requesting for more of that documentation on the 24th? I know it was originally requested a while back. But I know that we have it set aside. It's still set aside and not going anywhere.
Yeah, and at least on our end, that information was not requested, but again, since we have been actively having conversations with Jenny, that's something that we can easily ask during that meeting tomorrow, is if they need more documentation and proof that we have it set aside.
Yeah.
Then there's anything, that we can do, but I believe their focus right now is just that validation study, getting that completed. Because they've stated multiple times that, a clear path forward is not clear until that validation study is complete.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Good.
So I hope that answers your question. Dr.
Yes, it
Lyons.
does.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. But I will make a note to ask that tomorrow during our conversation. Okay, perfect.
Looking to see if there's any other hands up. Seeing any, so then we'll go on to Caltrans.
I have no updates with Caltrans, but it was nice that we were able to take Army Corps of Engineers out there to show them the dip. It's great to see the dip when you're at that specific spot, because you oftentimes don't see it until you actually are not driving and you're off on the side of the road. It's a scary spot to stand on the side of the road, definitely. So my anxiety was kind of like, okay.
Now, is this the south dip or the north dip?
Oh, gosh.
Because there's a dip in 20, and then there's a dip in the Nice Lucerne cutoff.
There's the Nice Lucerne cutoff dip. We only take them to one dip.
Well, there are two dips.
Okay, well then we need to take them to dip number 2 then.
That's the one.
That would be the one that's almost across from the casino, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
almost, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We drove by that spot.
yeah, and I believe that was
We just
brought up
didn't
too.
point it out, I guess.
Yeah.
Because
Did we?
that's gonna be the expensive, I mean,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
Lucerne dip is gonna be a bridge,
Yeah,
but the one on 20 is gonna be the.
I'm going to be
expensive one.
fascinated to see which is more expensive,
yeah,
because bridges can be very expensive.
Yes.
And also realigning the highways, and so it's going to be exciting.
We did-
so then I will also
I
make
hope
a
we get to
point
see it.
tomorrow, which I'll talk to you about tomorrow. We will also make that point as well. But the good thing is, again, they made it known that this is not the last visit, as they're in the early stages of planning for the validation study.
Okay.
So they should be out here and we can take them to dip number 2.
We did tell them how much of a challenge it may be in regards to a bridge in the Nice Lucerne cutoff dip. And correct me if I'm wrong, Marina, did they say they would look into how there may be a way to not require it or something like that, or was that just what we were talking about?
Yeah, so De Leon mentioned a few ideas, and they made it seem like there are possibilities of the and you can Can you talk about this a
Yeah,
little bit more,
I'll
Jordan?
just, yeah, I can mention it, because I'm not super clear, but, Scott DeLeon had brought up, possibly diverting, the wetland just a little bit higher up into Rodman Slough so that there's potential to avoid any kind of bridge, in dip number 2 there. So they said that they would look into it and take it into consideration, but there's no promises. That's
Yeah. These, well, one of the things was when we were working, and the coalition was working on getting this funding, was a happenstance that there was so much rain that East Lucerne Cutout was closed.
Oh, is that right?
And we kept bringing that up
Yeah.
is, where are people going to go to get to the hospital?
Mhm.
That was brought up.
And
as
that's
well.
still gonna
Yes.
happen if that dip remains.
Okay,
So just.
okay. That's good, good knowledge, thank you.
Don't worry, we'll have flying cars.
Pictures of it closed, both sides.
All right.
Great. Anything else regarding Caltrans? No? All right, well, we do have a public expression item on the agenda. Everyone should have received this document. It's on the initial invite that Water Resources sent out, and then the folks in the conference room. I almost said the fun room, the conference room. It's not a fun. The conference room should have this hard copy. I do not want us to read this. I know that Mr. Paul Cole read this last meeting and we promised that we would include it on the agenda for today. So folks should have done their homework and read it. But how this is gonna work, we did, I just wanted to provide an update on this and then I'll let Mr. Paul Cole speak to this. But we did send this on over to Army Corps of Engineer, and then as stated before, they are taking this letter into consideration as they're developing the validation study. They couldn't give us, they couldn't give us a simple yay or nay on whether they accept it or reject the plan until that validation study is complete. So they are using this document, this paperwork that was prepared by Mr. Paul Kolb into their consideration for the validation study. And as we said last time, ultimately it's up to the Army Corps of Engineers regarding that. So this did get translated over to Army Corps. They are in consideration. And before I open it up to the committee, I do want to let Mr. Paul Kolb to share any comments or additions to this item, since we do have it as a standing agenda item for right now.
Hi, I'm Paul Kolb from Upper Lake. I've been very familiar with Clover Creek since I have owned property for more than 40 years, just a half a mile away from it. It's in my neighborhood. It's even in the title. The title to my property, the old channel of Clover Creek, is mentioned. So that's what originally brought my interest in what old channel of Clover Creek and into exploring what Clover Creek actually was, and that it is the original creek that's been here for thousands of years. And I discovered it was diverted by some people from Upper Lake in the early 1880s, and its original channel, which was an additional creek flowing into Clear Lake, was dammed off and abandoned in the 1880s, and no one here even remembers it. No one living today remembers it or knows anything about it since it happened so long ago. And that Clover Creek is the main channel, the main river channel going right through the very center of the project, which directly goes around Bloody Island. It's the backbone of the watershed of the watershed in the project. And so therefore it is completely appropriate to restore it to the way it was for thousands of years. And it is within the project, and therefore it's the project's ability and duty to restore it, especially as part of the ecosystem restoration part of the project. And so I did prepare the two different existing ways where Clover Creek could be restored. The original channel, which was blocked off, could be made to flow again all the way into Clear Lake. I show on my diagrams that it would provide its own entrance into Clear Lake and have its own mouth entering the lake, just to the east of where Middle Creek goes into the lake. And so it's all the backbone of the project, the water flow, the restoration of the ecosystem, especially in the northern part of the project, and especially a flowing water going around Bloody Island to restore the ecosystem of Bloody Island is the reasons why it is very appropriate for Clover Creek to receive all the effort that you're willing to put into it. And in the two ways that I figured out how to restore the creek, one of the two ways is goes through the project which was just purchased for the Middle Creek project. It goes through the parcel, pardon me, just purchased for the Middle Creek project. And the creek channel could easily be restored and located in that new parcel that you just bought. And it would require very little red tape or easements or anything else having to coordinate with anybody else, since the project now owns that land. Therefore, I think it would be very easy, and regarding red tape and negotiations and problems, it would be quite easy to put Clover Creek back in the preferred solution that I provided. So that's about all I want to say about it. It's part of the ecosystem. It's a major part of the center of the whole project. And I think I hope that we can get it restored to its original channel. I thank you all, especially thank you for submitting these, my designs and ideas to the Army Corps of Engineers and any other agencies regarding this. I appreciate your forwarding them. And that's about all I want to say about it right now. I think everyone, when you read my documents, you'll understand it pretty well. Thank you for the time.
Thank you, Mr. Kolb, and we'll make sure that if we do again hear any update from Army Corps between now and our next meeting, we'll definitely send that over. But we did receive confirmation that they received it and they're taking it into consideration. So we'll make sure that we provide an update either via the monthly email update or our next update. I think it'd be appropriate just to provide an update at our next meeting anyhow on this, since it was brought forward as public expression.
Definitely.
Any questions? Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Thank you. I just want to thank you for that.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Any questions from the committee members regarding this item? These documents again were sent out via email. So if you do have questions after the fact, as you're reading them, feel free to send them to water.resources and we can make sure we include that and we can address those, or, you know, of course, keep Mr. Kolb in the loop if we have any additional questions for him. For next meeting, we can make sure we coordinate with him to get any of that clarified.
I just want to thank the committee, the other members of the committee who were at the 24th meeting for bringing this forward to the Army Corps. The Army Corps are the experts, they're engineers. If Mr. Kolb's ideas are attractive to them, if it can be done, that they have it now, and I'm just tickled that you passed this on to them. And this is the time to make them aware of this particular item. So the validation study is the time when they relook at things, and I just really want to thank everybody.
And I mean, that's a great note on that. The Corps has been very receptive of when we brought up, you know, is there anything else that they need to keep into consideration? Of course, they can't highlight everything, but just want to make that public comment as well, that if there are anything that folks want us to specifically send over to the Corps regarding the validation study, now is the time. So please send that to me, please send that to water.resources, and we will definitely make sure that gets sent to them and we will get that confirmation to forward back to you as well. So just wanted to make that note. You know, this is the time to make them aware of anything, and whether they consider it or not, it's up to them, but at least having that information, they seem very receptive and they want to help and want to move this along. So thank you, Mr. Kolb, for being diligent and communicating with us, and glad we were able to get that over. Yes, and definitely your patience.
So part of what they will do with things like this new idea is they have biologists that will, okay.
Engineers, they have a whole.
Yeah, I know they have the
Skill set,
engineers.
yes.
It's the biological improvement is what I want.
They do, they have the
Transfer that.
biologists, the hydrologists, the tribal liaisons as well, so it seems like they have all the right folks that need to be at the table and they pass it over to which branch.
Okay.
And they're very, at least they have been, and you know, March or May 24th was not that long ago, but they have been communicative of who is our contact for which, and then just, you know, keeping
Okay.
everyone in those. Yeah,
All right.
any, no? Any other comments on that item?
I just seen that in the chat, Corolla had said Hill Road also closes due to flooding, which is an additional issue that is Lake County's, and I'm not. That's I think that's in regard to what Paul had mentioned about one of the roads flooding.
Bruno, we don't see the chats. Can you
Yeah, I don't know if I have it up here on here, and I'm making notes of all of them, so we'll make sure that and that's another thing, when it comes to the chats, if there's something that's written in the chat, we make sure those are reflected in the comments too, so we'll be better if they haven't been specifically
Okay.
noted that in the chat, so and so said this, because it's technically a part of the meeting, you know, it
Yeah.
should be translated.
Okay,
Right. Next, we have non-timed items.
There was nothing, there was nothing sent to the Water Resources email about non-timed items.
All right.
well, I have a.
Yeah.
People have been asking me, when they get over yelling at me, they've been asking. So say this all happens, is the area going to, it's owned by the county. So it's county maintenance, you don't need any kind of easements or anything like that to protect the wetlands, because they're county owned, we can depend that there'll always be wetlands.
There'll be easements on everything.
Yes.
Okay, so the county holds the easements?
You will hold the easements.
Me?
Yes, the Lake County, the land trust. will be-
Okay, remember, there's also the RCD.
Yeah, and me, you and I will hold the easements.
So the RCD and the land trust will hold.
And other things, the other nonprofits and the Department of Fish and Wildlife.
So in terms of when we, the land trust, we holds an easement, we go out annually and record, take pictures of everything, and we do maintenance.
Right, but more importantly, you get an endowment before you agree
That
to
was
the
right,
easement.
Because we have staff,
So
we have
that
to
you
pay to
can
do
do
those.
all that. So in the long term, is that no one, and this is unfortunate, but no one will trust the county to keep this in perpetuity, right? But that's okay, they wouldn't trust the state either, and that's why the easements come in. So in the long term, that's what's gonna happen.
Yeah, because when I said I know the Army Corps has engineers,
Mhm.
that's because they created these levees. So I want to be sure we have biologists.
Yeah.
But anyway, so, okay, so there will be an endowment from the state.
Well, that'll all be worked out. I'm not
Yeah.
really sure
I'm not
exactly
quite sure who would.
where the money comes from.
I would hope it come from Army Corps if if they serve as a federal sponsor for this project.
And that's one of the reasons why the county should be happy not to be holding easements, because there's so much money involved. The county government, and historically, is a difficulty, not this county, but all counties have had difficulty.
Okay,
So it's an interesting future.
so there'll be some conglomeration of.
The National Resource Conservation Service is another one, so the feds could be involved, and big, huge nationwide nonprofits could also be involved.
So is there something on the web that will explain this?
I'm trying to remember where I read about it.
Yeah, I'd be curious to read all that too.
The Corps might be a place
Okay.
to find out about.
So Dr. Lyons, if you find that, you stumble upon that again.
Yeah.
Let me know, because this would be good to follow up with next meeting and this meeting in the near future about those next steps. And I know it's still a ways away, and I could always reach out to Army Corps to see if they will highlight that in the validation study.
Yeah.
we can get any information that we
Yeah.
can.
This might be a good thing for me to contact Jenny Curie.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, because I need to be engaged to somebody.
Yeah, I'll pass.
Roberta.
No,
I'll give her your, I'll pass you her information.
Okay,
her
great.
contact
Yeah. I had one
I
more.
I don't know that everything that was just stated applies to all properties. And I say that with no knowledge whatsoever. I don't know, for the county, yes, that's gonna possibly happen. I'm not sure if that gets automatically done on tribal land.
Yeah,
or
yeah.
If it's
Yeah.
only federal agencies that get easement access, or I just don't know.
Yeah, in fact, one of the things that could happen is that's another entity that holds easements are tribal organizations. So it could very well be that those properties that the tribes have the most interest in, they take the easement.
Oh, they should,
Yeah. That makes sense.
yeah. If I were there, I wouldn't be happy.
Right, anything else regarding that item? Thank you for bringing that up. Yes,
And then I had a housekeeping item. I love driving to Lakeport, and I drove here this morning because I wanted to make sure we had a quorum. But I think each month there has to be additional bookkeeping, communication. So that
To
if
be
I
sure we-
need to stay home or want to stay home, that I send someone
Mhm.
my address. So that for the Brown Act, the address appears on the agenda. Not that anybody's gonna show up in Jago Bay and
Oh,
sit down.
good luck finding her.
Yes, yeah, but at any rate, we have to have a consensus of who's gonna show up every other month.
Okay,
But so that's an additional headache for you.
that's okay. We can make some sort of invitation thing.
It's a shame for
Um,
not have a quorum.
Yeah,
so I believe, and let me know if this didn't go through, but I did send an email to the committee. And I didn't get any email back saying that folks were not gonna be here in person. So what I
Yeah.
can do next time is I'll send that out a week in advance to the committee. Because we do need to have those, if you are gonna meet somewhere else, we need to have those on the calendar, or sorry, on the posted agenda.
Mhm.
So I will make sure I send that out at least a week in advance. I sent that on Wednesday at 5:31. Just reminding that we need to be in person. But yeah, I agree, Dr. Lyons, if we're not gonna have a quorum in person, we
Yeah.
need to make that known. So those folks that are traveling from a little bit further away, I walk 10 steps, so I think I can handle that. I will always be here in
North
person.
Main Street.
Yes.
I walk here.
But that's also something that we need to take into consideration too, if we need to reserve maybe a room at, a library down in Clear Lake, Lower Lake area to see if we can have hybrid meetings, work with committee members on that. That way we can have 2 meeting locations, but as long as we have a quorum in person, and then if there's another location, if you're calling in from the land trust, and then you are able to open that up to the public, we can post that, that address also on the website, just to ensure that folks who are able to meet in person and prefer to meet in person, they have that meeting space. So I'll make sure that we get that. I'll at least make you all reply to me a week in advance.
So just a suggestion. I'm a simple-minded person. I live and run my life by my calendar, and my calendar said Zoom conference only. And so I just didn't think it through. If we can make sure to put the conference room and the address and the invitation, that way what's on my calendar is going to be what leads me to where I need to be and how I connect.
So the item 15 from April said next meeting scheduled for Monday, June 5th via Zoom.
Okay, and
I
look at,
crossed it out and I put courthouse conference room C 10:30. So
wait, I made an edit via Zoom and in person, but that was on the slides. So we'll make sure that the agenda has that as well.
Just explained it.
Yeah.
So we did correct it during the meeting.
Yes.
Yeah, we did, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that will be reflected in the minutes. And again, we will ensure, because again, whatever's posted on the agenda is where that meeting is gonna take place, and staff has been doing a great job of getting those out at least, a week in advance before, so I'll make sure that I coordinate with the committee. And then as a reminder, send those directly just to me, those emails to me, not as the committee as a whole, whether you're gonna be in
So you'll
person.
use BCC.
Yes, yep. which I don't use, but in committee,
Brown Act
yeah,
makes it look
Brown,
easy.
Brown Act.
Now that I know, I'll make sure it's in person. I come in person. I did the same. I just assumed a Zoom. But, yeah.
But if you are sick, stay home. We
Yes,
don't
we
want
don't
you
want
here.
That's
Respect.
my-
Bruno's coughing. I'll be like, I'm sick. You're like, guys, you're in your office.
I did catch a little poison oak from that Wednesday.
Oh, you did? I was worried that we were either gonna be swarmed by mosquitoes,
Oh,
because we
yeah.
were, it was so scary to have, like, I looked back and there was one person from Army Corps of Engineer there in front of me, and there's just like 25 mosquitoes on their back, and I'm like, can I drive
Yeah.
permission just to swat these away? And yeah, that worried me. So sorry you got poison oak from
Oh,
that.
it's going away now. I'm good.
Okay,
I
good.
didn't go as far as I thought it would, so I'm in good shape.
So on the note of meetings, join us August 7th, 2023, 10:30 a.m. via Zoom or in person. And then again, I'll get those, and if there's any other locations that this meeting will take place at, I will get those from the committee members, and then we'll make sure that the agenda is reflected that it says via Zoom and in person. Again, moving forward, we're doing the hybrid options, but for the committee, we do need to have a quorum in person. So as long as there's 3 of us here in person, we'll be Golden Pony Boy. But we'll always have Zoom as an option. I think that's
What
a
you
great
can do
option.
too is to prevent from minds like mine assuming the most convenient or just seeing Zoom. Maybe put next meeting in person at blah 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 with Zoom capabilities or via Zoom and Zoom capability or something like that. That way
Yeah.
it's stated first in person so that way.
Yeah, in person.
In person first.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll update that. invitation.
In parentheses, that means you, committee.
That means you, EJ.
Great. And I think,
So we're not overviewing the Brown Act again.
no,
Okay.
but those slides are in the
They're
minutes.
available.
I know
So-
I'm gonna use them for the RCD.
Yeah, and then there's the link to the actual slides from, that has all the slides in there
Okay,
from, from our friends from legal who we got all that from. So take those slides because it has a complete slide. They
Okay.
did a great job of making 50 something. of Brown Act. So we will not be reviewing the Brown Act, but if it is requested, we are more than, we can always reach out to county council and they can do it in-depth overview. Is that the last 17? That's the last of the slides I have.
That's it. Yep. If we
Great.
don't have anything else, I think it's, we're at the point of adjournment. And, if there's not anything else, we'll adjourn and we will see you at 10:30 on August 7th in person.
In
Or
person,
via Zoom.
definitely Lake County Courthouse and possibly another address. We'll keep you all updated.
Awesome.
Great. Thank you, everyone.
you.
Appreciate it. And meeting adjourned.
Bye, everybody. Have a great day.
You too. Thank you.
Sabrina,
Ah.
sorry, could you just put back up? You can end the meeting.
Somebody